Hello guys, welcome back to Coding with Bobby, and this is our second video of our Instagram clone using React Native. And in this video we're gonna set up a Redux store, and if you haven't watched my Redux series then I do recommend it. You can go watch it out and then come back, and if you already have, so let's just get started with it. So Redux store, we need it to keep our global state of our app. Suppose the user data and all the posts that he has posted or some feed that is visible to him. So we'll keep that all in our Redux store, and we'll also make use of something known as Redux persist here, so that once the user closes the app and comes back again, he doesn't see a reset of the state. That state should be persistent on his system. So for that, we have already set up our project in the last video. We'll just make few installations in this one. We'll install Redux.js toolkit. This one is needed for Redux, and apart from this we'll use React Redux, which will give us the provider to connect the store to our React application or React Native application. Apart from that, we'll also be using async storage and React Native async storage. Yeah, this one. Async storage is needed to keep something suppose persistent on my system. Suppose I need to have a storage from my device to keep this state, so for that purpose I need async storage, and we'll be making use of this package. Yeah, they've not, or we'll just take this. Yeah, we can just copy it out. You can follow this talk if you have any queries regarding async storage, and I'll just paste it out here. And we'll also need a Redux persist. Yeah, that's it. And we'll also need Redux thunk to make async API calls to our backend server, but with Redux.js toolkit they are already included in our toolkit. Yeah, so let's just minimize it and let's create one SRs and check the package.json. We have got Redux.js, we have got async storage, Redux native, and Redux persist, and React Redux. Yeah, fine. So what we'll do, we'll just create one src. Inside that we'll create one store. This will contain all of the Redux code, or you can see the actions, reducers, and one will have actions, and store will also have reducers, and we'll also have one constants file. Yeah, like that. And in src we'll have one main.js, we'll have one store.js, and okay, this something went wrong. What we'll do, in main I'll create one file main.js, and then I'll create one store.js which will configure my store, and we'll also have one global constants.js. We can also have one routes.js which will contain all my routes, which we'll see later on. We'll not fill them up right now. And I'll have one global styles.js, like that. So to start with, we'll start with our reducers. Inside our reducers we'll define our state, and we'll also define what our initial states are going to be. And so what we'll do, we'll have two reducers, one for the post which will keep track, or which will keep the data of our post, and one which will keep the data of the user, or suppose like user profile pic, username. So in reducers I'll just create one post.js, I'll create one users.js, and there would be one index.js. Index.js will combine these two reducers into one. So inside this what we'll do, we can just create one initial state for the initial, and this will just have user post, and this will be a simple array. That's it. In the post reducer we'll just have the user post, which will be an array, and this array will contain multiple objects of the post. That will be like post title, and suppose like post ID, post URL for the image, like that. And now what, we'll have to create the reducer, and the reducer, it always takes a state, and that would be initial state at the very initial, and it will take one action. And then what it should do, currently there's no need to put in the switch statement as we don't have any actions right now, so I can just return the state for now, right? And we'll just export it, export default post reducer, like that, easy. And now similarly for the user, We'll have an initial state, and this initial state, what all things we will be having, we'll have one token. Now token, this will work as our JWT token for the authentication. Once the user is authenticated, we'll get the token from the backend and we'll store it and we'll use it for every subsequent API calls. Now what else? We'll have one username of the user, and then we'll have another object inside it which will be named as profile, and this will contain several information of the user, like ID, which will be a user ID. Then we can have name, we can have email, and then we can have one bio. We can also have location, and apart from this, what all we can have? We can have profile pic, which will be a URL, of course, and then we can have followers count, and then we can have following count, like that. Yeah, so this is it for our initial state. Now let's just create our reducer, user reducer, which is going to take our state and initial state. And right now we don't have any multiple actions that we have defined, so we'll just return the state for now, and I'll just export it. Sorry, export default and user reducer, like that. Yeah. Now in index.js we will combine these two what we say reducers, and we'll create one single reducer which we'll name as root reducer. Though we can use the concept of slicing as well, but I'll prefer this way right now. If you have watched my Redux playlist, you make use of slicing as well. So what we'll do, we'll not waste any time, we'll just import combined reducers from our toolkit, and I'll import the user reducer, I'll import the post reducer. Now I'll create one single reducer which will be named as const root reducer, and this will be our combined reducers, and this will take all the reducers that we want to combine in an object. First one would be user, and this would be user reducer. Next one would be post, and this will be post reducer, like that. And I'll just pass it. Now, so we have got the two reducers, one is the post reducer and one is the user reducer, and now we have combined them into a single one which we have named as root reducer. Now we'll be making use of this root reducers while configuring our store, and this is the main part of this video of setting up the store. So we'll just check it out. Inside the store we'll import configure store. Configure store is needed to create our store as such. And what else we need? We need Redux. We have used Redux persist to persist our store so that our state of the app stays as it is even if we close the app. So for that we'll need async storage, and we'll also need persist reducer and persist reducer. And apart from what I'll do, I need two imports. So what I'll do, I'll just import it like that, persist reducer, and apart from persist reducer I also need persist state. Now we'll see how we are making use of it. Yeah. Now what I can do is I need to import the root reducer first. Root reducer coming from my combined reducer that I've just combined. Now for this persist reducer we need to create an object first, which is going to be our const persist config. Now this all we can also read from the official documentation of Redux persist. That is not an issue. And first we need to give in a key. Key can be anything. I'll just name it as root. And now we need to define the storage, which storage we are using to actually save our or persist our global state. So I'll make use of async storage here, like that. And after this I'll create one object of persist reducer, and this will do persist and reducer. Yeah, this one. Yeah, persist reducer, and inside the persist reducer we need to give in this object that we have created along with the root reducer. So persist config and then the root reducer. Now this is the actual reducer that we are going to use in our config store. So now const store, or and configure store, and I can just directly export it from here. configure store, and inside the configure store we need to pass in the reducer. We'll use the persist reducer instead of using our root reducer, because we have created a layer of persistence around our root reducer, so we'll make use of that. And now this is the important part. We need to use some middlewares. Middlewares are, suppose like Redux Thunk is one of the middlewares, but now instead of installing Redux Thunk explicitly, it comes implicitly with this reactjs toolkit, so we can just define our middleware and that will be automatically imported. So this will take one get default middleware, and now see, yeah, so the main part is get default middleware, and there's one important thing that we need to do is serializable check is equal to false. Now even if we don't do the serializable check, that would work fine as expected, but there are times when we make our state of the store such that the data is not serializable. So we don't want our store to always check whether the data is serializable or not. So just to be on the safer side, I'll just make it serializable check as false. Yeah. Now what I'll do is I'll just do export const persister, and this will do persist store. Okay, this is persist store and this persist store, and I'll just pass in the store. Now see, first what we have done, we imported the root reducer, that is the combined reducer of our user and post. Then we created a layer of persistent around it, right? Then we created a store out of that persist reducer. Then out of that store also we need to persist it, right, using the persist store. Cool. Now what we need to do is to make this Redux store available to our React application, we'll make certain changes to our app.js, but instead of making those changes to our app.js, I'll make those changes to our main. So what I'll do is app will be the outermost layer that will have my provider and everything, and main will contain the actual app. So what we can do is this app.js, I'll just copy it out and I'll just put it in my main, and I'll name it as main like that. Yeah. And inside this app.js, this will be the outermost layer. So inside this, what I'll do, I'll keep all the provider and all. So I'll just import my provider from the React Redux, which will integrate my store to the React app. Now see, provider is needed for store to the React. Now we are using Redux persist. For that we also need to use persist gate. Now persist gate, yeah, like that, it is coming from Redux persist. Now apart from this, we'll import our persister that we just created from our store and also the store. And apart from that, now we'll do the safe area provider. Okay, so safe area provider, what it does is see, provides a flexible API for accessing device safe area interactions. See, it will take care that our content doesn't like get involved with the status bar. If you have got like every device has got a different style of the status bar, so it doesn't like mismatch with the status bar or the notches. So in that way we can just make use of this safe area context. So what we'll do, we'll just install it, npm install react native safe area context. Even if we don't use it, that is not an issue, but it's just to be on the safer side. So what I'll do, safe area context, we'll take use of the safe area provider and we'll wrap our app around it. Yeah. And apart from this, we'll also import main, because main is the actual application that we are using now. App is just a provider or layer around it, right? So what I'll do, export default function, or we can also make use of the fat other functions, that is also fine. Return, and first of all there would be a provider. Now provider, if you have watched my Redux series, you'll know what it does, and it takes a store inside it, and inside it I'll also take persistent gate, which will take loading. See, loading, you can give in an image also here. When the state is loading, actually it will pop up that loading icon. I'll put it to null for now, and it will also take one persister, which is also coming from my store, right? So after that, what we'll do is persistent gate is done. Now we can wrap it around our safe area provider, and now we can give in the main. Yeah, so main is done. I guess we are pretty much done with it. Now we can also create one function to reset the store. Suppose we are debugging our store and we want to reset it once, so we can create one function which is reset store. This is a fat arrow function, and what we'll do is await persister, and this will do our purge. Purge will delete all the data, and flush will just refresh it once. But we need to make sure that yeah, it is an async function. Yeah, we should only call this reset store when we actually need to reset the store. Otherwise we'll just not make use of it as such. So what we'll do, we'll just try to run it, npm start, and our Android emulator is up. So a okay, we've got some issue over here. Const persist reducer. Okay, okay, fine. So what we'll do, persist reducer, we can just take it as p reducer, or we can take it as persisted reducer, and we can take persisted reducer like that. I got there's a mismatch of the naming. That's it. We'll just reload it once. And when using a middleware, a builder function, an array of middleware must be returned. Okay, I guess I'll just do it like that because we need to return it. Yeah, let's reload it. Yeah, works fine. So actually the issue was in the middleware it should be returned. So what I was doing earlier, I was just using these curly braces. So in that case I can do return, that is also fine. Or in the otherwise case, okay, this has become wrong. Persisted. So either I can do return so that it returns some middleware, or otherwise I can just remove these braces. If we remove these braces, then it directly means that okay, we are returning this field. So yeah, this is working fine. And in main.js we can add just one more text field. Yo, we are good. Redux is set up. Yeah, it works fine. So that's it for this video. In the next video we'll set up our actions, we'll make the actual API calls, and then we'll move to our reducers. Thank you.